Hello, wonderful pupils. It's actually good to be here again. Hope you are all safe and healthy. Please do not forget to always keep to the advice of medical practitioners to wash your hands regularly with soap and running water for 20 seconds, and to as well use an alcohol-based sanitizer in the absence of soap and water. I remain my humble self, Mr. Olapade. I welcome you all to this wonderful session of our virtual teaching and learning process. And the subject we're going to be doing justice to for this section is civic education. Before moving to the topic we have at hand, I would like us to quickly do a revision on what we did last. In our last session, we discussed gratitude and appreciation. And we're made to understand that it is very, very important that we show gratitude and appreciation in return to whatever good we receive. Please learn how to say thank you. Learn how to say thank you. Learn how to appreciate others for the little we receive from them so that we receive more. As I told you in the previous class, it's only he or she who appreciate or say thank you or acknowledge the deeds or the good done to him or her that will receive more. If you fail to appreciate what you receive, you cannot receive more. Is that taken down? Good. Now, we are going to be discussing a very, very interesting topic. I'm very, very sure that you will enjoy this topic under civic education. And the topic says constituted authority. Constituted authority. What do we mean by constituted authority? It's going to be very, very interesting. But before we go into the subject matter, let's quickly look at the lesson's objective. The lesson's objective, we have, at the end of the lesson, the pupils should be able to first define constituted authority. That is, tell us what constituted authority is all about. The second one says, write short note on who a constituted authority is. Write short note on who a constituted authority is. And last but not least says, mention and explain the types of constituted authority we have. Mention and explain the type of constituted authority we have. Now, let's do justice to the subject matter. It says, what is constituted authority? What do you mean by constituted authority? Now, for what we have here on our screen, it says, constituted authority can be described as the stated list of laws created to guide all the actions and rules in a society. Again, constituted authority can be described as the stated list of laws created to guide all the actions and rules in a society. That's to tell us that constituted authority refers to those laws and regulations that guides all our actions as people living in a society. So as we have right now, as we dwell in our society, there are some rules and regulations that guides our actions and inactions. That is, that guides everything we do. These rules and regulations, these laws are what we call what? Constituted authority. So we refer to as what? As constituted what? Authority. Now, let's now move into who a constituted authority is. If somebody tell you, I am a constituted authority, just like the late governor of Oyo State once said, that's Governor Ajimobi, when Senator Ajimobi rather said he is a constituted authority when addressing students who were protesting in Oyo then. So now, for somebody to have said, I am a constituted authority, what does it mean? What does it imply? Now, let's look at the meaning. Now, he said a constituted authority is a person who is elected or appointed to oversee the smooth running of our society. Again, a constituted authority is a person who is elected or appointed. There's emphasis on the word elected. Is that taken out? And also on the word appointed. So it is either the person is elected or appointed to oversee the smooth running of our society. That's telling you that those people you elect, that we elect, that some set of people elect or appoint to what, to oversee the smooth running, that is how our society is being run. These are the people we what we call constituted authority, because they have been vested with the power to what, to oversee the smooth running of the society. They have the power, they have the authority to what, to lead and to guide the affairs of everyone who lives or stays in any particular society. Is that taken out? So a constituted authority is a person who is vested with the power and authority to what, to oversee the affairs of a particular society through election or appointment. Why the first of which we discuss, constituted authority, is what? Are laws. Created what? They are laws created to guide us on how to behave, how to live our life in the society. Is that taken out? So please do not mistake the two concepts. They are different. One is talking about law, which is constituted authority. One is talking of who is a constituted authority, that is the person who is a what, a constituted authority. The first one is referring to laws that are created to guide our actions. That's constituted authority. Now, but if the actual who is a constituted authority, that's telling you that constituted authority can as well be a person. Is that taken out? Good. Now, let's now look into the types of constituted authority we have. We have types of what? Constituted authority. What are the types of constituted authority? There are four basic types of constituted authority, and they include, there are four basic types of what? Constituted authority, and they include: 1, organizational constituted authority; 2, traditional constituted authority; 3, religious constituted authority; and the last one says government constituted authority. I repeat, the first one is organizational constituted authority. The second one says traditional constituted authority. The third one says religious constituted authority. And the last but not least says government constituted authority. Is that taken? Good. Now we are going to be looking into this constituted authority one after the other. Let's look at the first one. The first one says organizational constituted authority. Now, what is organizational constituted authority? What do we mean by organizational constituted authority? These are leaders of organizations like companies, schools, political parties, etc. That is, these are the head of companies. These are the heads of organizations. They are the one we refer to as what? Organizational constituted authority. Take for instance the proprietor of our school, God First Children International School. The proprietor, in person of Pastor S.A. Adebanjo, is the head of the school. He is the number one of the school. So as a result, he has that power to be referred to as what? As a constituted authority. He has that power. He has that authority. He can exercise those power, those authority without anyone questioning him, because he is number one. He is the head of the school. So he is an example of what? Of an organizational constituted authority. Is that taken out? Because he is the head of what? Of our school. Another person is Aliko Dangote. is the one you are seeing in this diagram I'm pointing to. Aliko Dangote is the head of Dangote Group of Companies. He is the richest black man in the world and the richest man in Africa. Is that taken out? Dangote has so many things. He's an entrepreneur. He owns salt manufacturing companies, cement manufacturing companies, sugar, noodles. Mention them. He has so many companies, and he is the head of this Dangote Group of companies. And as a result, he can exercise power. He can give command. He can tell his subordinates what to do without them questioning him. Is that taken out? Just like our proprietor will come and tell us, address us on the assembly, that teachers should do one thing or the other, advising us on what to do to best take the school to the land of attainment. These are some of the things he tells us every morning on the assembly ground, that do this, do that, be good teachers, employ the use of this, employ the use of that. All this is saying to take the school to the land of attainment. These are instructions that we must abide by, because he is the head of the school. Likewise, the one you are seeing here, Dangote, is also the head of his company, and as a result, he will always dish out instructions on what his subordinates should do to help develop his companies. Is that taken out? We have political leaders like Tinubu, Senator Oluremi. Tinubu is a political leader of the is the national leader of the party, the popular party known as All Progressive Congress, which is APC. He's also having authority to give instructions to his subordinates on what to do. Is that taken out? So when you hear about organizational constituted authority, it refers to what head of companies, schools, political parties, mention them. Is that taken out? Is that taken? So it refers to leaders of organization, that is the head of of organizations. Is that clear? Is that understood? So if you come across this in your exam, if I ask you to give me an example of an organizational constituted authority, tell me Pastor S.A. Adebanjo, Aliko Dangote, Senator Tinubu. These are head of organizations. Is that taken out? Good. Now, what are their functions? We've mentioned these people. What are their functions? What is expected of them? Number one, these leaders, that is, we are talking about organizational constituted authority now. Now, they said these leaders represent the interests of their members. They represent what? The interests of their members. They are the head. They are the head. So if anybody should come down to these companies, take for instance, we have external supervisors coming down to our school. The first person they will approach or walk to is what? Is the proprietor, the owner, and the head of the school. Is that taken out? Good. And it is this person who will address them and tell them what they need to know about the people working in the school. Is that taken out? That's what they said. This leader represents the interests of their members. That is, they represent our own interests. He represents our interests. Is that taken out? The second one says they provide decision and policies for their members. Good. It is very, very good. Now, this is talking about these leaders, that is the head of these companies, providing or making decisions and making policies for the members. The proprietor could come and say, okay, I want you to change your method of teaching. Before now, you are used to first giving notes before explaining to the student. Now, as from now henceforth, I want you to start explaining. Whenever you're having any subject to teach the pupils, I want you to explain first before giving them. That is a decision that we must all what? We must all abide by. He has taken that decision and he has given us the instruction to what? To abide by them. And we must all obey. That is an example of what? Some of their functions as a leader. Now the third one says they serve as the what? Protectors of members' interests. They serve as the protectors of members' interests. That is, as the proprietor now of this school, he is one who protects us and our what? And our interests. He ensures that we do not lack anything. He pays us as when due. He gives us so many what's it called? Incentives. Just what? Just to make us happy and motivate us to work better. Is that taken out? Ensuring that we do not have any cause for alarm. We do not have any cause to murmur. We do not have any cause to want to be sad about our job. These are some of the things he does to protect our interests. Likewise, other organizational leaders, they do that to their members to ensure that there is smooth running of the company. Is that taken out? Good. Now, the second one is what? The traditional constituted authority. What do I call it? Traditional constituted authority. As the name implies, traditional. When you hear the word traditional, first thing that should come to your mind is what? All these kings, the traditional kings, queens, obas, the emirs. Is that also good? Now, I believe some of you know some of these kings and traditional rulers we have around us. So we have them around you here. We have the Oba of Lagos. Now let's look into what we have on our screen. He said this refers to traditional leaders in our society. That is, those traditional leaders in our society, and they include Alaafin of Oyo. That's examples of these traditional leaders. We have Alaafin of Oyo. We have Oba of Benin. We have Emir of what? Of Kano. Emir of what? Of Kano. These are what? These are traditional leaders. You can see them. This is the Oni of Ife. Yes, that's Oni of Ife. I'm pointing to in the diagram here. And the second one is what? This is Sultan of Sokoto. The Sultan of what? Sokoto. These are traditional leaders. These are what? Traditional leaders. We have the Oba of Lagos. Is that taken out? Now let's move into their functions. What are the functions of this traditional constituted authority? Don't forget that these people are constituted authority. They are traditional constituted authority. They are all constituted authority, though different aspects. This has to do with tradition. Is that taken out? The first one was what? Organizational constituted authority. This one is talking about traditional constituted authority. Now let's look at their function. That is the function of traditional constituted authority. The first one is that their main responsibility is to what? Is to maintain order inside the traditional societies and help their local community. They ensure that there is orderliness in their communities. That is something they must ensure as king in any community, because the main purpose of them being king or leaders of that community is what? Is to ensure that there is orderliness in that society or community. Is that taken out? Good. The second one is that they are responsible for traditions inside their communities. They are responsible for traditions inside their communities. That is, when they talk about traditions, what are the traditions? Every society have their own traditions. Some society have the gods they used to worship probably every year, once in a year, some every month. So these kings are the ones who oversee to all these activities. Is that taken out? You see some people bow down to their gods. Probably they go to their village once in a year to say they want to go and worship a god of iron, the god of thunder. It is this king that oversee to do what? To these activities. They are the one who proclaim these activities open. Is that taken out? Good. Another one is that they serve as chief priests for every traditional ceremony. They serve as what? As chief priests for every traditional ceremony. Do not forget that they are the traditional kings. That means they are the traditional leaders of the community. So as a result, any traditional ceremony that is to take place in any society, in any community, they will serve as what? As the chief priest, being the king or leader of that community. Is that taken out? Say for instance, now we have traditional ceremonies like the Agemo festival. You all know, some of you know of that in Ijebu, Agemo festival. The king oversee to what? To this ceremony, to this festival. That is, he serves as what? As chief priest. We also have other ceremonies like the Oshun festival. Some of you have heard of the Oshun festival before. Normally take place in Oshun State. We have some other festival, Egungun festival, and mention them. So the kings, the traditional kings, are the ones who serve as what? As chief priests to all these what? To all these festivals. Is that taken out? Good. Now, another function of these traditional leaders is that they help the government to educate their people and provide the cooperation between traditional societies and the government. Do not forget that the government cannot always come down to the grassroots. That is, they cannot always come down to the society. Take for instance, now we have Sanwo-Olu, the governor of Lagos State, right there in Ikeja, in his office there. He cannot always come to this place, that is to us here in K2, to pay us visit or know what is happening here. No, that is why we have these traditional leaders. Probably we have Oba of K2 here. It is this Oba, this traditional leader that we have here in K2, that will serve as what? As that will help us bridge the gap between us and what? And the governor, who is Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Now, whatever we are in need of, whatever is happening to us, whatever thing that is affecting us here, it is the king that take those things to the governor to let them know that these and these are what my people need. So it will serve as the middleman between us and the government, and we ensure that there is cooperation between the people living in the society and the government, so that we will not always be shouting that we don't have government. The government are not there for us. They have not repaired our road. They've not given us water. They are not always giving us light. These are the things that the king ought to do, the traditional leaders ought to do. That is to let the government know what is happening in our society, so that they can provide solution to them. Is that taken out? The essence of these traditional leaders is what? Is to give feedback to what? To the government on what is happening in what? In our society, so that solution can be done. Now, let's move into the summary. It says in summary, a constituted authority are leaders vested with the power to make decisions that affect people. Constituted authority are leaders vested with the power to make decisions that affect people. That is, these leaders, talk of organizational leaders, that is the organizational constituted authority, the traditional constituted authority, all of these leaders, like I earlier mentioned, Pastor S.A. Adebanjo, the Oni of Ife, the Sultan of Sokoto, the likes of Dangote. These people are leaders. that are vested with what? With the power to make decisions that affect their subordinates, that is, that affect people, not necessarily negative, but positively. Is that taken out? Positively. Though sometimes some leaders make decisions that affect other people negatively, but it is not good, because any decision any leader is making must affect the people positively. Is that taken out? Good. Now, evaluation. Now we have to know how far we have gone about this lesson and how much we understood what we've been discussing throughout the course of this section. Now, we have the first question saying, what is constituted authority? What do you mean by constituted authority? I told us constituted authority are those laws, those rules, those regulations we need to abide by as members of any society. Now, the second one, which is the second one, says, who is a constituted authority? The first one is talking about the laws. Is that also? The second one is actually who is a constituted authority. That is somebody who is what vested with the power to oversee the smooth running of the society. Is that taken out? Somebody who is vested, who is elected or appointed to oversee the running, the smooth running of our society. Is that taken out? Now, the last but not the least says, mention and write briefly on two types of constituted authority. We have, we mentioned two types of constituted authority. Is that also good? We mentioned what? We mentioned organizational constituted authority. Good. We mentioned the traditional constituted authority. Now we have to mention them and write briefly on them. Writing briefly on them means writing out their functions. Is that taken out? Writing out some of their functions or the functions of each of these constituted authority. Is that taken out? Good. Now, the next class, we're going to continue with this constituted authority. We discussed just two now. The next section, we're going to be discussing the remaining two. Is that taken out? Please ensure that you read your note and you study hard for the coming exams. Please ensure you keep safe. This coronavirus is real. Please avoid social gathering. Wash your hands regularly with soap and water. And likewise use an alcohol-based sanitizer. Please, it is very, very important. It is very, very, very important. And when you are in public places, please ensure that you use your face mask. It is very germane. God bless us. Till we meet again, I remain my humble self, Mr. Olapade Olalekan Moses. Bye for now.